Welcome back. This is Occupier Feeling coming to you live from one of the workshop rooms that I was in earlier. I archived the first segment of these, and I'm now plugged into the power patch, so I got some more go juice. So I'm going to do what I did before. I'll catch a little bit of each of the workshops, work my way down, and until the last one of those ends, and then there'll be a lunch break. So I will archive at that time after I come out of the last workshop of the second segment. And then the afternoon sessions, which will be the presidential forum. I'll come back live for that. And again, if I can swing a ride from here to the fairgrounds, then I will go stream Bernie Sanders, or he will be there. So in the afternoon session, Bernie Sanders along with Martin O'Malley will be here. Hillary Clinton, the other Democratic candidate, did not choose to attend, and frankly, I'm happy about that because I have serious issues with her. I mean, I would live stream her appearance if she was here and capture any public reaction. I have streamed a couple of Republican candidates before over at the fairgrounds during the state fair. But that's what I'll be doing for this part 2 of the workshop session. I've also been taking pictures, which I will upload later. Now there's just a small audience in here so far.
Could everyone move up to the front? Fill the front couple rows.
Be sociable.
All right, good morning, folks. All right, so I was raised in a black church, so we do a kind of a call and response. So when I say good morning, I expect a good morning back. Good morning, folks. Good morning. All right, my name is Ron Harris. I'm from Minneapolis, Minnesota. I work for an organization called Neighborhoods Organizing for Change. So I thank you guys for coming into this session. The previous session was strictly about wages, about the minimum wage, and kind of economic impacts and all these other things. This session is actually going to be about the other side of this. So we're talking about wages, we're talking about hours, we're talking about time, and how heavily we're impacted by our time. So that's going to kind of frame the issues that we're talking about today. We're going to be talking about fair scheduling, we're going to be talking about paid family leave, and earned sick and safe time. And the biggest thing that I just really wanted to get the message across is that your time, our time is our most valuable resource. We can't get our time back. We can't buy our time back. There's no way we can make more time. And our time is even more valuable when our employers are profiting off of our time. They're utilizing our time to make a whole lot of money. So that means that our time is actually literally in somebody else's hands. When our time is in somebody else's hands, we have a limited capacity to control our own lives. We have a limited capacity to spend time with our children. We have a limited capacity to pursue our own dreams. We have a limited capacity to find who we are as individuals to make it in this world. So the issue with with fair scheduling, for example, there's a whole lot of folks who are working jobs that they don't get adequate notice of their schedule. They don't get enough time before their next shift to plan, make childcare arrangements, transportation arrangements, things like that. And they get penalized if they're not there on the job site for job time. I don't think that's right. All right. I don't think that an employer can profit off of my time and literally control my time to the point where I can't do the things that I want to do in my life. And so with fair scheduling, what we're finding is that the people who are the least likely to have a fair schedule, the people who are the least likely to have advance notice of their schedule, to have their schedules out in advance, to have access to the hours that they want to work, are also people who are susceptible to inadequate access to transportation, inadequate access to health care, and it's kind of a compounding effect for the folks who don't have access to a fair schedule. And so in Minneapolis, we're working on a campaign for fair work. We're working to make sure that we empower people by being able to control their own lives and control their own schedule. And like I said, we cannot get our time. And the worst part about it is that we work these jobs, right? We're working these part-time jobs, we don't get the hours that we want, we're likely not getting paid what we want. And then we get penalized when we're not pulling ourselves up by our bootstraps. And the folks are literally standing on our boots, saying like, why don't you go back to, if you don't want to work this low-wage paying job, why don't you go back to school and get an education and better yourself so you don't have to work these jobs? Well, if you let me know what my schedule was, I'd be able to plan to go take courses, I'd be able to arrange adequate childcare and transportation so I can go and do these things. And in this economy especially, we're finding that a lot of folks are having to piece together 2, sometimes 3 part-time jobs to make ends meet, to make sure that they get the bills paid, to make sure that they can provide food for their children and all these other things. And when you're working multiple part-time jobs and you don't have access to a fair schedule, you can see how incredibly problematic that is, right? If you don't know when you're going to work, if you can't plan ahead, you can't plan. These are likely not salary jobs. If you don't know ahead of time how much money you're going to make that week, who wants to be in a situation like that, right? Where they don't know when they're going to be able to how much money they're going to make that week. So I got a quick story. When I was in college, I was a server at a restaurant. I wasn't lucky enough not to work in college. I had to kind of pay my own way. My folks didn't have a whole lot of money. It was fine. And there was one time where I had a call-in shift. I found the day of the shift. They're like, hey, Ron, we need you. We're really busy. We got to come in and work. This was during finals week. I actually had a final that day. And I was like, boss, I can't make it to work. I said, this is my last final. I need to take this test. I need to make this grade. If I don't take this final, I'm going to fail. And consequently, because it was finals week, I wasn't working that much that week anyway. And so I would have been short on rent. I would have been short on rent if I didn't make this shit, right? So I was stuck between the choice of going to class and taking my final, or missing work, getting fired to take my final, or going to work, missing my final, so I can make sure I had rent, so I had a place to stay. I unfortunately had to go to work and make that money. I ended up missing that final. And I never failed a class in my life, and I ended up failing that course. And I had to do a whole appeals process. I had to let them know that I literally was stuck in a situation where I would not have somewhere to stay next month if I did not make this shift. They were demanding that I make this shift. I took the days off ahead of time. I did all the right steps. But my employers had that much control over my life to where they could dictate if I'm going to make this grade or not. They had that much control over my life where I had to accommodate to their wishes because they didn't plan ahead of time for their own schedules. And they saw their individual workers as property, as their own individual capital. I control how much money you make, I control when you come to work, I control how often you come to work, I control every aspect of your life. And fortunately, I was able to appeal and make the grade. But that was a very lucky situation, right? I can't imagine if I were in a worse situation where that much control and the outcome was worse. So I'm sure everybody in this room has some example of when a boss or an employer mandated their time in a way that was incredibly inconvenient to you. So for this next quick activity, I want you to turn to a neighbor, share a story or two about when an employer or boss, someone mandated your time and you had no control over that situation. We'll take just a couple of minutes to do that and then we'll put it. Sound good? Good.
I'm going to only put a little tiny bit of because we're doing an individual group activity. Hello. I'm just catching little bits of each one.
Oh, okay.
And there's none on this floor because apparently this floor is under construction. And they even have the door locked. Guess they realize that people can't go in there. And they're doing remodeling of the fourth floor, so no one can use it. So I'm coming down here to the third. Like I said, working my way down. There are two on this floor.
You said elected officials, okay, and I don't know whether that was a slip of the tongue or not.
Yeah.
But I think it goes right back to her question, because if they fund your first campaign and you want them to help be reelected, that's where I see it being.
That's why I only gave $5 to Mitch.
Yeah.
I want him to be responsible to me. Right? Sorry, that's like a buried headline.
Is there any more problems people want to throw out with super PACs before we move on?
Yeah, if I understand correctly, super PACs can also, it's almost like laundering money, because I can't, as an individual, I am limited to how much I can give each political entity, like
$2,700.
like the DNC or a particular candidate or whatever. But if I give money to a super PAC, which I can give all my money to a super PAC, they can turn around and give it to other people or other entities that then pass it on to these candidates and these other organizations that are more closely aligned. And so, you know, I can give directly by laundering through the PAC. Is that correct?
So yeah, so just to like paint up a pretty clear picture about all this, there was a problem with money in politics before super PACs, right? Not everyone has the $2,700 to give to a candidate. Right? They only have 10. But it's like those people who only have 10 don't matter to candidates, even if you take away super PACs, right? Because candidates just don't spend a lot of time thinking about funding their campaign with small contributions. They get as much money as quickly as possible. You add in super PACs, which are supposed to be independent and separate from the campaign, and then you have another avenue to put money in to support the candidates. And then if you break down the line between candidates and the super PACs, then all of a sudden, the person who's giving $2,700 to a candidate just turns around and gives $5,000, $50,000, $100,000 or more to the same super PAC, and they just see it's the same activity that they're supporting because the campaigns have outsourced their activities to the super PACs. And so so that limit of $2,700 that you can give to a candidate is now a fiction. So that's what's going on with not just the fact that they're super PACs, but the fact that there are no rules and regulations that are enforced to stop them from doing this coordination. Right? They're not supposed to. Legally, they're not supposed to. But so Mitt Romney, you guys remember who Mitt Romney was?
Flip-flopping
he
Mitt.
actually set up a super PAC in 2012, raised a whole lot of money through a super PAC, right? It went off and did its independent activity. The Federal Election Commission, which is supposed to oversee these laws, just fined them, right? Like almost 4 years later, how much do you think they fined them? $50,000. For massive violations of campaign finance law, they spent $100 million or more to try to elect them. So it's just the cost of doing business if you get caught 4 years later. So anyway, so that's the issue with super PACs. Not so much that we have a problem with big money and it's just the problem with super PACs. The entire system is kind of being corroded from the inside and is all escalating to the highest donors, the biggest donors, which is further and further away from, I'm guessing, every single person in this room.
Can those donors be non-US citizens
So they can be green card holders.
or not?
So there is a possibility that through, so super PACs are one thing. Organizations that do political work, 501c4s, which are social welfare organizations, and 501c6s, which are trade associations like the Chamber of Commerce, those are all tax law determinations. Those entities possibly could raise foreign money and not have to disclose it. There is a prohibition in federal law about spending foreign money to influence American elections, but again, no one policing this, right? They'll certainly police our cities, but they're not policing our election laws, right? So just there's no way to know whether there's foreign money. It is against the law, but there's no way to know.
So people who give to PACs don't have to identify themselves and how much they gave?
People who give to PACs do. People who give to 501c4 organizations, like everybody. We have donations then. Or 501c6s, like the Chamber of Commerce. Those donations do not need to be identified. So we're gonna, I'm sorry, do you wanna?
I was just gonna say, we wanna get to talking to the solutions to this problem, but maybe to illustrate just exactly how big this problem is. Mitch, I'm wondering, since you've been so generous to you, I'm hoping to be generous in the future. You wanna help me for a second?
I'm the PAC for the candidate.
You're the candidate.
Okay.
You're doing what we want you to do.
So you mind holding So how much influence?
Try to get out of your job.
So how much influence do we think that people have on policy outcomes? So if 90% of the population wants something to pass, do you think it's going to happen? No. Well, there was a study which showed, so again, getting back to ideal situation, if 0% of the people support something, then we want 0% of it to pass. If this is support for something, and this is chance of it passing, then we want the line to look something like this, right? 100% support means 100% chance of passing. Now there was a study done by Northwestern and Princeton professors that showed that in fact, this is more what the line looks like.
She's drawing a wavy line. I can't
Has
see
zero,
the way
close
she's
to
drawing
zero
because
effect
I
on
can't get
chances
over
of
to
something
get
actually getting
the
passed
picture
by our
of
Congress.
the
About 30% chance of
the
anything passing,
drawing
whether
tablet
whether we
that she's
support it
using.
or not. And who has more influence? The big donors do. The politically connected people do. And so this is the problem that we're trying to solve. And David's going to talk a little bit about exactly how we can do that. Can you say what that study was again? Who did it? It was a Princeton Northwestern study.
Yeah.
I can get you a link if you sign up. Which will be passing the sheet around.
So yeah, Princeton University professors, they actually found that they looked over 30 or 40 years of acts of decisions by Congress, and they found that public opinion of all of us had absolutely no bearing on the likelihood of something passing. Which is like startling statistic over time, over issues big and small. The one area where they found a correlation between the public opinion of all of us and where Congress actually decided to act is where the public opinion also of the elites coincided with the rest of us. And that's when decisions actually reflect this line. So somewhere at that intersection. Thank you. If you can, yeah. So issues emerge, right? People are starting to talk about it. We're talking about it here, but people are also talking about it on the campaign trail, and candidates are talking about it. So I wanted to, we want to shift a little bit towards talking about solutions, because if we just talk about the problem the entire time, we'll have to like hand out a box of razor blades instead. It's a joke, but the reality is we are so cynical about the issue of money in politics. that the more that we talk about this, the problem, and talk about the 158 families that give the 50% of money in politics and all, it's not about people, right? We're talking about stats, we're talking about wealth at the top, and it's not about us, right? We can talk to you all day long about the differences between C4, C6, and super PACs, but that doesn't build any political power. It just makes us realize how far away we are from actual change at the federal level, and it'll bore us to tears. But candidates are beginning to talk about solutions, and it's really important to shift this conversation about money and politics in two ways. One, away from just the problem with big money buying everything, away from the natural disasters we use like tsunamis and avalanches and floods. If there's anyone in the room who has ever stopped a tsunami, we want to hire you. That's amazing work. But we don't stop that stuff in America. We're not about stopping the tsunami. We're not about stopping that money. We're about bringing the people back in, right? So the solutions have to do that. And there's on the campaign trail, there's actually a fair amount of conversation about solutions, surprisingly. So I'm going to read a couple of quotes, and I ask you all to guess who said them.
This should be
Lobbying
interesting.
has become our nation's premier growth industry. In this culture of special interest access is a problem I plan to tackle as president.
John McCain.
Jeb.
I think he stole that line from Bernie.
I think this whole thing with tax is nonsense.
Donald Trump.
If you think that's a good system, then what you think is that I should spend almost every minute of every day raising money. Chris Christie. Unfortunately, his solution, let's get rid of contribution limits whatsoever, all together. So he can spend less time raising huge checks from everyone and just take it himself. Who cares about the super PACs? I just want the money. That's Chris Christie, my governor.
I feel sorry for the people of New Jersey.
Find a way to create a constitutional amendment to limit the role of super PACs.
Bernie Clinton.
Lindsey Graham, no longer president of Canada. She would love to make a statement. We have to stop the endless flow of secret, unaccountable money that is distorting our elections, corrupting our political process, and drowning out the voices of our people. We need justices on the Supreme Court who will protect every citizen's right to vote rather than every corporation's right to buy elections. Hillary.
But Hillary has a super PAC.
I'm running for president because we have a
super PAC.
I'm running for president because we have a campaign finance system which is corrupt, where billionaires are spending hundreds of millions of dollars to buy candidates, blah, blah, blah.
That could have also been said by Martin O'Malley, but that was definitely Bernie.
Running for president is real simple. You just have to surgically disconnect your shame sensor because you spend every waking moment asking people for money. You walk up to total strangers, you go, hey, how you doing? Can you give me some money? That's a lovely tie. Please give me money. That's politics in a nutshell. So you should have actually tried that one. So there's a conversation about solutions. So these candidates, like them or not, these candidates are living this kind of bizarre experience where they're actually here trying to court regular people, but their minds are somewhere else, right? So they know it's a bifurcated life to run for office, and there are lots of good people who go into public service to do the right thing rather than have to be a glorified telemarketer, right? So what I want to talk a little bit about is some solutions, because we can't keep having this conversation about the problem. It really deepens the cynicism. Americans don't feel like there's anything we can do about it unless we start talking about the kinds of policies and kind of things that bring people back in. We work with a number of other national organizations to create a national agenda called the Fight Big Money Agenda. if you said it was get big money out of politics agenda, Hugh would be leaping in the back of the room. So it's a fight big money agenda that has 5 basic principles in it. You can actually hand out. Number 1, everyone participates. Everyone participates. Number 2, everyone's voices are heard. Number 3, everyone knows who's trying to influence our group and our representatives.
Because she wanted to take care of her with disobedient
4,
nose.
everyone plays by
Save one
fair,
for her.
common sense rules. Rules like the FEC actually enforces rules.
Oh, sorry.
And last, everyone is held accountable with enforceable penalties to deter bad behavior. I'm going to focus most of the conversation about. So they're right on the back. I read them. I didn't read them. So the first couple are incredibly important. The conversation about money in politics, while we want to try to reduce the influence of big money in politics, we think it's incredibly important to change the incentives to bring people back in. It's incredibly important that we change the conversation about money in politics from all the big money to the rest of us. And the way that you can do that through policy, through actual public policy, is to change the incentives for every single actor in the system. So I'm just going to focus on 2 types of actors. Candidates and people. If you're a candidate, there are no incentives to engage lots and lots and lots of people. Sure, there are examples of candidates doing that. Bernie Sanders is a great example of this election cycle. Part of Barack Obama's fundraising and Howard Dean's fundraising were great examples in past election cycles. Rand Paul's fundraising in past election cycles was a good example of engaging lots and lots of people. But there are no incentives to do that and built into our system, so there aren't a lot of candidates who choose to do it. So a way to incentivize having people engage, candidates engage lots of regular people.
I want to go into this other room and catch a snippet of this one.
Packet and flip to page 3. And I need for someone in just a second to stand up or you can sit down and read the narrative. You see here, family comes first. Can I get a volunteer just by raising a hand? Okay, just a second. So let me show you who we're going to be tracking here. So this is a dial test, right? So y'all have done dial testing before. So the narrative is being read, and as it is being read, people are reacting to it in real time. And so if they're resonating with it, you'll see the line go up. If they're like, man, I'm not resonating with that at all, not feeling it, you'll see the line go down, right? And the blue represents our base, which tends to be more progressive.
Messaging economic justice.
Opposition, which tends obviously to be more conservative, more white, more male. Persuadables, rather mixed. And we also thought it was important to test the activists, right? Because the activists, many of you in this room, are the ones who are often carrying the message first out to the base, right? So we thought it'd be interesting to see how they were lined up. So, all right, who's my volunteer here to read? If you could read that loudly, and I need for everybody to watch the lines and pay particular attention to the blue and the red line, and then we're gonna have a conversation about why you think those lines are doing what they're doing.
They may drive you crazy at first, but everyone knows family comes first. Providing for your family and being there when they need you isn't negotiable. Every working parent should get paid enough to care for their kids and set them off toward a great future. If politicians want to talk family values, it's time they start valuing families. And that means making sure all Americans have work that allows them not just a decent living, but a decent life.
Thank you, sister. All right, so see what's going on here? Y'all talk to me. What do you see happening here on this graph? Yes, brother.
It was going up until the narrative changed to actual initiatives, and then it split.
Right.
For values, it was right there until it came to action.
Right. So if the message starts off, family may drive you crazy. Everybody agrees with that, right? Right. But then you start to see a divergence. Yes, brother, go ahead.
Right, what I noticed is that the opposition quickly dropped off when we started talking about decent wages for everyone across the board, remember, because you have to guarantee that it's decent wages. That is
That's right.
work.
That's right. Anybody see anything else? Notice that the base, which is blue, and the persuadables are, which is green, they're actually resonating with this, right? The activists actually end up highest, right? When they talk about people having to work and being able to have a decent life, the activists are like, hell yeah, we can run with that, right? And look how the opposition trails off. Here's the coded language here. As soon as you start talking about everyone, right? The opposition is like, we are not down with that, right? And because everyone means women and people of color. And I'll move on here in a second. With women in particular, you know, there's a conservative value that says what about women in work? Right, that's right. And so they picked up immediately when you said everyone and families as opposed to men, right? They're like, no, we're not down with that, right? And so this message of family, you would think without doing research, resonates with the conservative base. They got it, they're taking it and running with it. No, this resonates very strongly with our base. So we did this over and over again with the messages that you from. You're gonna ask the question?
How do you define persuadable again?
Yeah. So persuadables are folks who are in the middle, who we were talking about this earlier, who they're kind of like they're mixed voters. They can sometimes vote more progressive and liberal.
For those of us that do like electoral work, that's what you would be like the swing voters, right? You would treat them the same way you would treat swing voters, right? They're people that you could easily, or not so easily sometimes, bring to your side. They could go either way.
Right. All right.
Just real quick, so I know I'm clear on what's the numbers right after in parentheses?
This was a number of folks who actually supported it strongly. Like there
The
was,
final.
The final point, because it doesn't look like it corresponds on the graph. Anyway, that's what it final.
Yeah, it's the final. You're talking about over here.
Yeah, because that looks higher than those numbers.
Yeah.
Looks like 80 something.
It is. I think it's there's some magic elixir arithmetic algorithm that actually I think is what's measuring is the strength of their response. But this number is the number who approved of it most strongly, and then there's a second tier that is mostly strong.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Okay, so we're not, because we've got a number of these that we can share with you, but we just wanted to show you kind of what the methodology was behind this, that we're trying to find messages that move our base, that energize them, and that win over persuadable, and that alienate the opposition. So now I'm going to turn it over to Wendeley, who's going to talk a lot about some of the principles behind the research.
Yeah, and I just want to say that those sample messages that are in that memo that you're getting were actually developed from those small groups in rooms like these with real people, conversations with real people about their experience. So some of the, everyone knows that people drive you crazy, for example. That's something that came straight up out of a room, and we integrated those messages into the actual, sample messages that you now have in front of you. So the most important thing I think about this message, and like I said at the beginning, is that we're not going to give you talking points. And even those sample messages, right? They're sample messages that we're using to test how well we can do in different, demographics, but not necessarily saying you use this. So this is the most important thing you're going to take with you today. And this is the set of principles that came out of this thing that are actually going to be able to adapt into whatever campaign you're working on, into whatever the issue is. It doesn't matter what the issue is. This is adaptable across the spectrum. Does that make sense? Okay. So the first thing that we learned, and Bonnie said this at the beginning, is that we don't talk about poverty because there are all these things, right? Everyone has their own sort of experiences coming into it, their own biases around poverty, right? Even those of us that grow up in poverty have our own biases about it, our own stigma around it. And so the idea is that you don't start off by automatically stigmatizing people, right? Because that's not what we're about. So instead, what we talk about is values. We focus on the things that bring us together. And you saw this, right? Even at the beginning when the message was values-based, even the opposition is right there with us. Because values bring people together a deeper way, right? And the types of values that we're talking about are family, community, freedom.
You can't see the black.
It's gonna be really hard for me to do. Okay. So really, leading with those values beforehand, so that you automatically have people's attention. You have them with you from the beginning, right? And then you move into the vision that you want to actually create in the world, right? And you don't have to follow the cycle exactly. It's just an example, right? So you start with values, and then you talk about the ends, right? And everyone, I'm sure people in this room have heard the term, the ends justify the means, right? So the idea here is that we kind of take that a little bit, and we say the ends that we're talking about are the good ones. There's a great vision of hope for the future. We have a great vision for how this country should be, for how this country should treat its citizens, its people. It should be a great vision of hope, right? And that's why instead of talking about the policy solutions, right, because people might disagree with you on the policy, but they might agree with you in that clear dream, vision, amazingness that you're going to present to them about how the world should be and how it should work for its people. Does that make sense? Right? And then you talk about the lived experience. And there is no one that can sell this message better than you. You are the messengers of this message, right? And this is all about really living real life experiences. That is the most important thing that we learn about this message research that we did. That is really about lifting people's experiences, right? So instead of talking about abstracts, right, poverty or whatnot, instead, the poor, you actually tell her the experience about how you struggle to meet, to put food on the table. You struggle to pay for something. You struggle. Your family is struggling. And really talking, really breaking down what the struggle looks like. That's the most powerful thing that you can do. And then you actually name the source of the problem. You name the villain, right? So if you think about this, you're telling a story, right? So you set the context with the values framed and what you're trying to vision, that you're trying to create for the world. Then you actually talk about the hero of the story. That's all of you. That's what your story is about. You're setting yourself up as the hero because you are. Say that again. Say that with me. I'm the hero. I'm the hero of my own story. I'm the hero of my own story. Right? So that's what this is about. This is about placing you as the hero of your story because you are. And you need to own that. And the world needs to know that. Right? So then you set yourself up as the hero. And then you talk about the villain. Right? Because in every hero, in every story, there's a hero and there's a villain. Right? And you have to actually name them. Name who they are and name what they're doing. Right? There is a few in this country that are rigging the rules. There is people in this country that are actually acting. They're taking action every single day against us. And you need to call them out on it. You need to say what they're doing. You have to give them active agency in what they're doing.
Wendy, can I call? So can we take 30 seconds? Who are the villains?
Big banks.
Big banks. Who else? Wall Street. Come on, holla at it.
Corporations.
Corporations. That's right.
Get more specific than that.
Federal Reserve Bank. Federal Reserve Bank. Farm Bureau. Farm Bureau.
The Farm Bureau.
Yes.
Koch brothers.
Koch brothers. Yeah.
The Rothschilds.
And what are they doing? What are the actions that they're taking that make them the villain, that identify them as the villain?
They're greedy.
They're greedy, right? They're trying to just make everything about them, about their greed, about what they want to get out of it. While they're
I am going to go downstairs and catch a couple more. I just want to catch these on this floor. Now I'm going back downstairs. And just like I did in the previous segment. It'd be nice if I could record all of them at the same time, but I just don't have them anyway. additional video. So now I'm back on the third floor. And I'm going to look into step 2 here. I'll slip into. Raising revenue for investment.
But now the police are being investigated by the federal government in Chicago.
A lot's happening with the police in Chicago, and for good, and our particular action didn't play a piece, and we are not the main players of what's going on with police brutality in Chicago. So, and I think that as allowing young black activists to do the main work of police brutality in Chicago is the first step.
Because they're the victims.
Dino, Democrat in name only.
Oh, well, that's why he said that I wasn't Democrat anymore. Anyway, is that really keeping the pressure on him? Because if he wants to keep his job, he's going to have to make
Actually referred to Rahm Emanuel. Otherwise known as Mayor 1%.
That you didn't talk at all about corporate welfare. And I've been from Ames right up the road, and now the city council is very stealthily over 5 years marshaled the forces to create an industrial park east of 35, which means the citizenry is going to pay to get the infrastructure over there.
He's referring to the Des Moines City Council on this industrial park project.
Plus, who knows how much in bond issues, and there's no company inside, but this is our dream. We're all gonna get rich. So,
Transportation,
oh, that
so
doesn't
people
even
can get
exist
jobs
out there
out
right
in the
now.
industrial park.
so this is an immediate way.
Refer to public transportation and people being able to take a DART bus to go to that area.
Previous administration, they had stripped away all citizen oversight about things like that. All local communities. I live 50 miles south of Minneapolis, pretty rural, but there's intellectual community there too. It's two really nice colleges, and so it's a very interesting mixture, but there's a lot of big farms. And our legislators in 2 years reinstated citizen oversight in situations like this, where local communities had a say in what kind of development took place in their communities. And as soon as the Republicans got back in, even before the session started in December, they were going after it and trying to strip it away. So I think, to me, what that ends up saying more and more to me is our responsibility to keep people in office that serve us, serve all the people. And, you know, it's not always easy, but we can't give up that fight. It's disgusting and dysfunctional and depressing as it is to see how corrupt it is. If we give up, they're going to win for sure.
I'll trade places with you again. Into here.
So when it rains, the next day we go right into Des Moines. We've had a problem with high nitrate levels. We have a special machine that costs us an extra $3,000 a day that has been turned on, I think, for 177 days. And then that was determined last year. So that comes to us rather than the farmers practicing good practices. And not every farmer's like that, but we have a lot of, I say we live in the land of food. Because we have so many cows, chickens, hogs, and they poo more than a human, and the way they spread it on the, you know, the land, and it just all comes, so we just. Like to, you know, see more buffers to help prevent,
Our
you know.
governor has proposed to take money from education, which is already tied to the bond,
I think this is the reality of the debt. So let's take one here, and then one in the back, and we're done.
How about back in Milwaukee, some investment for our youth in the inner city of Milwaukee? There's no, how about an outdoor skateboard park and a roller skating rink? They say there's no money, but they find
Done, so long as do you want to go here? Trading places. I'm just taking pictures of all the sections. I'm gonna go back downstairs and see if I can. Catch the last one. Yeah, I'm back on the floor. We'll go in here. People come out of individual sessions that we were in. There is a poster that is up here that I want to take a picture of. It's okay. I just wanted to take a picture of that, and I'll upload that later. Looks like some are getting ready for some kind of, I don't know if there will be like an ending for this morning portion. I think I'm going to stay down here. They're just getting ready for the final section. There is music coming out of the sound system somewhere. I think what I'm going to do is, when that starts, I'm going to hang out here. I'm going to show you all the tables that are set up here, the different groups that are represented. First one is American Friends Service Committee. They work on social justice issues like wage theft, getting money out of politics, military-industrial complex, immigration issues, prison-industrial complex, all kinds of things like that. So that is this group. This is twogrannies.org. It is also works to get big money out of politics. The hidden cost of hamburger. I'm just picking up a couple of things that are on the table. It's they also work on cutting down on fossil fuels and things of that nature. So this implies two grannies started this organization. And next is Food and Water Watch. They first got started with issuing a scathing report on Monsanto and GMO. They had this Let Me Decide campaign. Let me decide what I eat. No GMOs. They're also working on stopping fracking. League of United Latin American Citizens. They work on getting the Latino community involved and working with them getting registered to vote and helping those who deserve citizenship to get it and other things. So that's what they work on. And then there's Iowa Farmers Union. So they are.
Did you believe you were at the East High protest?
Yeah, when WCBC was.
Yeah, you remember me?
Chased them off.
Yeah, you were there.
Yeah, they were too chicken liver to show up.
Yeah, I thought I recognized you. How you doing?
Oh, good.
Still doing the whole media thing, I see.
Oh yeah.
I'm volunteering now for Save the Children Action Network now.
Oh, good.
So, glad to see you're still busy.
Yep. So, I'll have lunch here and then I'll stream the afternoon stuff.
Right on.
And then if I can score a ride over to the fairgrounds, Bernie is going to be there at 6 o'clock.
Oh, is he?
Yeah.
Okay, very good.
So he and O'Malley are going to be here this afternoon.
Right.
But then Bernie is going to be at the fairgrounds for 6 o'clock.
Wonder if my boss knows that.
Oh, who knows?
I'll have to know.
There's a Facebook event page for it, so.
I'll have to. I'm trying to think of your name again, hon.
Kaylin.
Kaylin, that's right.
Yeah, I don't shake hands. I don't shake hands with men, no offense.
Oh, sorry.
It's actually a sign of respect for Muslims.
Huh?
It's actually a sign of respect for Muslims.
Okay, sorry about that. I didn't know.
Oh, now you know.
Hey, Jeff. Got it restocked.
Okay, I'm taking some of their goodies here. I want the dark chocolate. Oh, yeah. This is Women's International League for Peace and Freedom. They are also working on getting big money out of politics, just other women's issues, international peace, all kinds of good things like that. And I'm thinking about joining that organization. Every Child Matters in Iowa. This is a group that is promoting refunding of education and other issues that are meant to preserve the dignity of children, you know, kinds of goodies like that. And of course, the main sponsor of this is Iowa Citizens for Community Improvement. But there may be other smaller organizations that don't have table set here.
About those guys that
But they are nonetheless important here. Oh, here's another small. Every Voice is another organization.
Thank you,
I think there's something about to go on in here.
At 1 o'clock. So
Oh,
we have
okay.
lunch right now, and then at 1 o'clock you.
Oh, okay. I wasn't sure if there's going to be something in here before lunch or not.
No, not until 1, and then the program starts at 1:30.
Okay. So, I guess there's not going to be anything going on before lunch, so people are now dispersing. There are 2 rooms where lunch is being served. So I'm going to go ahead and take my stream down, allow my phone to use it a little bit. I got plugged into one of my power packs. So I'm going to take my stream down. I'll come back live just before 1:30 for the candidate forum. And that should be very exciting. I think you're going to enjoy that. So thanks for watching, and see you back at 1:30 Central Time.